usually it was renovated by Italian rental company, construction company. Over town is very expensive. Just an apartment house, an apartment is the master plan of Armenia was meant to be built. Now we have come, we have seen this at night. Now this is the public square. And all those buildings, I will explain what they are. In front of you, just here, look at my hand, it's the Marriott Hotel. In front of you is the government building, the Council of Ministers. And with the flag in the middle, there's a public office, right? Family construction. That's the place for two museums. Museum of History, and you can see the screen somewhere there. There used to be a place where the statue to Lenin, statue of Lenin was set somewhere there. And when Armenia, they know the place of the head, so it's missing.
Yeah. He's dead.
Yes.
World War II.
You got them on Ararat there?
Oh yeah.
The sound of the tractors and
Yep.
the...
Higher.
The name is unknown, but what you did is remarkable.
We'll take a video. Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, we went to KZV. Take it from that. You want to stand by it? I want to. Your deed is immortal.
Your name
Is unknown. Your deed is immortal.
And this is the downtown of Yerevan. You can see the opera house over to your left. And this is the most expensive area apartment-wise. An apartment here or over there.
Oh, her son, yeah.
Yeah, he always says if it wasn't for Gary, I would never have graduated.
Come to the genocide memorial. The whole area is dedicated to the genocide victims of the massacre of 1915. And the first part here, I would like to show you. You can see the number of trees planted by honorable guests, the visitors of Armenia, from presidents, statesmen, politicians, senators, congressmen from U.S. Senate and Congress. You can read some of them. The majority of them are actually in the English language. The memorial to the genocide is the morning alley. You can see the people walking through this morning alley. That's the first part of the memorial. The second part is the mausoleum, which has a form of a cut pyramid with the 12 pylons. Some people say that the interpretation of those pylons is the 12 provinces of Armenia where the genocide had taken place. Others claim it just the symbolic kind of dance of Armenian people standing shoulder to shoulder, giving help, supporting each other. So that's two interpretation. Inside the mausoleum, there is the eternal flame, which is accompanied by different music, and you can hear the music right now, which is about this genocide. Off to the right, off the mausoleum to the right, you can see sort of an obelisk, a monument. If you look attentively, you will distinct two peaks, two parts of the obelisk, small and big. It has three interpretations. The first is it's a symbolic of the rebirth. You can see the grass, newly born grass, and it looks like a newly born grass, symbol of rebirth, of resurrection of Armenia. The second interpretation is two peaks of the Mount Ararat, because it consists of small Ararat and big. Historically, the mount belonged to Armenia. And the last interpretation of the obelisk is that two together, they symbolize historical ancient Armenia, when Armenia was a huge country, especially in the reign of the famous Armenian king Tigran the Great, who expanded the territory of his empire as far back as to the Black Sea, from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. What we have now is only 1/10 of the former historical Armenian land. 9/10 of the territory of Armenia is outside Armenia. Now, on this wall, originally it was planned to depict the scenes of massacre, of genocide. But then they thought it will be too emotional, too moving, too touching for the people to see. So they left it like this, just putting the names of the towns and cities which are now in the territory of modern Turkey where the genocide took place. And you can read, and my grandfather. My grandfather, he managed to escape when the whole family members were tied together with a rope, and he managed to escape through the rope and hide himself in the passing by sheep and survived. He died when he was 91, but you know, he would never tell us a word, anything about what happened. He came from Mush, so I'm Musha Tsitora.
And ours came from Harpa.
Yes, Arya. Nine top. Greg, Mom Beatrice was fine.
Highway 99, Fresno. Was from where Christianity started, for Virap Monastery. And From here you can see the TV tower over to your left. We used
Well, and so ends our first day. Big eye opener. Lots of interesting street crossings. But really cool. It's actually Thursday, June 22 here. It's our first stop on our second day. The Cathedral of St. Gregory the Illuminator, patron saint, and this was constructed for 2001, the 1700th anniversary of Christianity becoming Armenia's national religion. Jesse and Sylvia. There's our bus and Rafi, our driver. The Armenian gas station. And there's Soviet style housing in the back. This is a relic of St. Gregory. The fort of fruition. Here's Khor Virap Monastery in front of Masis.
I know, that's what I was saying.
Cease.
Yeah, it does a lot actually.
Different architecture of the church.
Yeah.
But I mean the area.
Everything.
That's what we're doing. Stork. That's some stork footage. Oh!
Бахтияр Мыгар Естественно, даже
Просто make-up на горе. Make-up программ. Çabuk gider. Sülyagan.
Anne bir kuyruğu. Oh my god, oraya hiçbir santriyeti.
Gideyi var bir kan. Grammeце kohote. To na garden.
Goes there. It's a steep metal ladder, 6 meters deep and 4 meters in diameter. And Gregory was kept there for 13 years. Different books, different numbers. Some say 15, 16. We stick to the most popular 13 years. Together with scorpions and reptiles and snakes. He was fed secretly by one of the widows who lived on the territory of the monastery. She would throw some bread to him, and I don't know how true it is, but the legend says that she threw bread to Gregory through this little hole right below this window. The window, yeah, and just right below there is a hole through which he was fed. As soon as pagan king imprisoned Gregory, as soon as he was put into a deep dungeon, the head of the pagan king from a normal human being had turned into a head of a wild pig or a boar. And he tried everything, the pagan king, to cure himself, but nobody could help him. The pagan king had a sister whose name was Khosrovaduht, and pagan king's sister, Khosrovaduht, saw the same dream for 3 times, in which she was told that the only person who could help your brother to become a normal human being is Gregory, but only after he releases Gregory out of the deep dungeon. So he had no choice. He let Gregory out of the deep dungeon, out of Khor Virap, and immediately the pagan king's head, Turdad the third head, he turned into a normal human being. And only after that he let Gregory convert him into Christian, and when Turdad III became Christian king, he consecrated Gregory to become Gregory Lusavorich, to become Gregory the Illuminator, the first Armenian Catholicos. That's how it happened. And this is the chapel where we have this deep dungeon. And later on the territory of the monastery of Khor Virap, that was educational, religious center for many, many centuries of the historical Armenia. They built the church in the 7th century. It was destroyed during the earthquake of the 17th century, and the last renovation took place here in the reign of Armenian Catholicos Vazgen I in 1970s, 1980s. Now this is the Saint Virgin Church, Mariam Astvatsatin Church, working church, and people come here for services, for baptizing, for wedding ceremonies, and you could see a rooster. Yeah, people come here to make sacrifices. So I don't want to keep it too much under the sun. I'll talk more about
Let him through. No, I think that's a little view into the pit. You could see the hole. Yeah. There it is, where you're at.
Which way is Ararat?
No biggie.
Even though you're a Dodger fan, I don't want to miss it. Armenian flute. The duduk.
you entered the plateau, we passed through the remaining part of a fortress wall that was considered to be a very conspicuous military fortification for that time, and part of that fortress wall has been renovated. You could see it. The only old part, the remaining part of the original, is just on the very top, kind of stone with mud. You can see it on the way back. This used to be the fortress, surrounded by the fortress wall, and all the way by the precipice and gorges, so they'll be very difficult for the enemies to attack this area. You know that Armenia had numerous invasions: Romans, Greeks, Arabs, Assyrians, Mongols, Tatars, Seljuks, Persians, Turks invaded Armenia, occupied its territory, and killed its people. So that's why wherever you go, wherever we travel, you will see monasteries and churches and fortresses always isolated, hidden, or elevated, so that will be difficult accessible for the enemies. That's the main reason. Plus, when the church was built, when it was they will choose a place elevated so that it will be closer to God. That's right. That's another explanation. Now, on the basalt plateau, you can see the only example of Roman Greco style here on the territory of modern Armenia, the name of which is Garni temple. It was constructed in the 1st century AD. And here, the pagan believers worshipped their idol, their deity, which was the god of sun, Mithra. And in 301, you know that Armenia was the first country in the world to when the god of Mithra at the first and all pagan temples were destroyed, demolished. And on their places, on the places of former pagan temples, they will establish Christian church, Echmiadzin, where the main altar of St. Echmiadzin Cathedral is sitting right on the pagan hut, H-E-A-R-T-H, where the pagan believers worship fire, Zoroastrians. So what happened here with the pagan temple of Garni, even fanatics of Christianity did not dare to destroy the pagan temple of Garni because of its beauty. They merely overthrew pagan deities. They broke the pagan idols into pieces, and the temple itself was converted into the so-called House of Coolness. That's the information we get from the books on history. That was later presented by the Armenian king to his sister, the same king, Ararat III, presenting the whole compound, the whole premises of the temple, the Christian church, the bathhouse, to his sister Ostrovadu, to have a summer residence, like dacha. See? You see the pagan temple of Garni, that's the restored problem. During the earthquake of the 17th century, the temple collapsed, and it was renovated, restored in our time during the Soviet era, back in late 60s, early 70s. What you see now is a restored model of the pagan temple, and you can easily distinguish all stones from the new one. The reason why it collapsed also has an interesting explanation, because despite the fact that Armenians were very skillful masters of processing the stone, very good architects, being familiar with the number of anti-seismic methods, what happened here, though those methods were implemented, Armenians, during the invasions, they took out the lead, L-E-A-D, to make bullets to protect themselves during the invasions. And that's why the temple became not so solid, not so steady. And when the earthquake happened, it collapsed. That's the main explanation. So there are 9 steps that you can climb, very steepy, so you should watch out. 24 columns with Ionic order capitals. Some of them you can see they
original. Inside, you will see a big opening, a kind of a square hole on the floor, and you will face the altar as soon as you enter, where pagan believers used to put their deities, their idols, to worship. And the opening on the floor, there are two explanations. One is that the rain would come from the roof, and they save the water to be used later on, or when they made sacrifices, like slaughter the animal, that was kind of a drainage for the blood of the animal during the pagan time. So these are kind of two explanations. Next to the temple, you can see the foundation, the basement of the Christian church, which was built here in the 9th century. And that was a typical cross-cupola construction from the architectural point of view, typical for Armenian architectural style of that period of time. And the same happened to the church. It collapsed during the earthquake of the 17th century. The decision was made not to renovate, not to restore the church in order not to diminish the beauty of the pagan temple, because that's the only example, as I said, of Roman Greco style on the territory of modern Armenia. And we will have a lot of Christian churches all over the country. That's why they left it just the basement. Not far from here, I have brought the key for the bath house. I forgot to tell you to bring towels, so it's pretty hot, so we'll dry out under the sun. There is the bath house. You can see the green roof tent. And the bath house was constructed here in the 3rd century AD, consisting of 4 rooms. It was typical, if you have seen Roman thermos, with double floor, with heat penetrating and heating the room. That's exactly what they have constructed here. And once we are done here, I will take you to the bath house to open and to give you more explanation. Okay? Shall we do the bathhouse and then yeah. But while you're all together, let's do the bathhouse. I don't want you to disappear.
Shall we bring our own soap or?
Yeah. And just so that. Very interesting is the floor of the dressing room, the restroom, where they had their rest after bath, probably having beer or whatever. See, the original parts of the mosaic left from dating back to the 3rd century. So we will switch, and you can have mosaic dating back to the 3rd century. And the main images depicted on the floor are taken from the Greek mythology: Father the ocean, Mother the sea, different fishermen, etc. To make this mosaic, they have collected river stones going down to the gorge, and those stones were picked from the below flowing river Azat, which means free. Azat in Armenian means free. And they say that 18 different hues, different tints of the green color was used to make this mosaic. They say there is a replica, I used to see it, I don't know whether they brought it back after the renovation of the floor, a replica, a copy of that floor, and display on in the Museum of History on the Republic Square. If you look attentively, in the middle you will see a square, and there is in the red you will read the Greek sign, some writing, which says, we built the bathhouse, but we were not paid for our work. So how do you like it? So we have 2 explanations. One is whether people were hired by the Armenian king, and he was kind of not very nice to them, did not pay, or there was a group of people, probably Roman or Greek origin, who constructed the bathhouse and gave it as a gift to the Armenian king. So we think that's a big gift to the Armenian king to have bathhouse. So, yeah. So you like the second version better? Yes. Okay. Now you can come up and have a look.